Almost 2 million Cuban Americans live in the United States today, and most live in Florida. They are a powerful political force in the swing state, and for decades supported a hard line against Fidel Castro's Cuba.
Historically, with Cubans who came to Florida after the 1959 revolution, quite a few of them tended to be led by the idea of what do we do about Cuba itself? Initially, can we get back there? And then later on, when it's, we can't get back there, it's what should we do about, the regime, the system that's in Cuba? And that quite often meant they supported candidates, especially Republicans, who took a very tough line regarding Cuba.
But that view started to change during the Obama administration.
And so when you had Obama come in 2009, if you remember that, there was that whole rush that is, look, for people who are not white, for people of color, there are new opportunities here, there are new possibilities here. And Obama energized a lot of people, and that included Cubans.
During his 2 terms, President Obama loosened travel restrictions and took Cuba off the list of states that sponsor terrorism. In 2016, he became the first American president to visit the island nation since 1928. By the time of his trip, polls showed over half of Cuban immigrants in Florida supported Obama's policies. But when Donald Trump became president, his administration adopted a much harder line with the communist country. In the closing days of his presidency, Cuba was put back on the list of state sponsors of terrorism, and some restrictions on the island were put back in place. The Cuban-American vote was also shifting.
So that specific issue of Cubans in Florida, why might they have voted for Trump or for Republicans? And I would suggest to you that in some respects, the polarizing of American politics meant that polarizing issues like what do we do about Cuba shot back up to the top. So it wasn't the question of necessarily economy and health. It wasn't the question of, what brings us all together. It was this specific issue of interest to Cubans that Republicans played on.
According to a survey released in March by Ben Dixon and Amandi International, 66% of the Cuban-American community now supports keeping the U.S. embargo against Cuba, compared to just 36% in 2015. This latest poll also shows 56% of Cuban Americans in Florida oppose any loosening of travel bans, a finding similar to other polls taken over the past year. More Cuban Americans are voting Republican again to maintain a tough Cuba policy, say analysts.
The deeper pattern, I think, is that in 2020, the Trump campaign and the Republican Party did an extraordinary job reaching out to Cuban American voters and other Hispanic communities in South Florida. What they understood much better than Democrats is that, a lot of people here don't identify as Latinos or as Hispanics. Like, they don't think of them as like some broad cultural group, but instead they identify primarily with the specific country that their family came here from.
Even though the Biden administration is reviewing its Cuba policy, White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki told reporters recently relations with Cuba is not a top priority for President Biden. With polls showing most Cuban-American voters in Florida opposed to warming relations with Havana, Democrats will have to figure out a way to appeal to this unique political bloc. For Lilia Anisimova in Miami, Florida, Anna Rice, VOA News.